I've spent most of today working on the wall, and I can see the progress. I was going great guns, so I spent all morning sorting rocks, and then I got on after lunch and started putting them into the wall, and then I had to stop for a bit and run some errands, and then when I came back I just could not get back into the zone that I'd been in before. So there's this funny thing that happens when I'm working on it. There's a few rules. There's a few rules to building dry stone walls, and one of them is that the stones all need to be sloping slightly inwards, so that as the rocks kind of settle, they lean in both sides of the wall, sort of lean into each other and becomes more supporting and stronger. And the other thing is, whatever rock you pick up, you have to put it in the wall somewhere. You can't put it back in the pile and look for another rock that you think would work better. You just can't do that. Otherwise you just end up with a big pile of rocks that you can't make work. And sometimes when you get in the zone, every rock you pick up is exactly the rock that you want, and it goes in the spot that it needs to go with just 2 or 3 tries. And then when you're not in the zone, every rock you pick up is just incredibly dumb, and you spend ages just changing it, trying it in all these different places and trying it in all different, turning it around, turning it over, and just until you finally find a spot. And that's really frustrating when that happens. So I had to flow. I stopped for a bit and then couldn't find it again, but that's part of the process. Just a quick thrift store haul. I didn't have it in mind that this was going to be something I did in my online diary, but it is something I have a fondness for when other fibre artists do these things with their YouTube channels. I think part of the appeal is that they're sharing things they've found that mean a lot to them or that they have put a lot of thought into, and I just find that process interesting. In Australia, second-hand shops that are associated with charities are called op shops. Op is short for opportunity, and so I went to a couple of them this week. I normally have a running list of things that I am looking for, and there can be things on that list for months, if not years. And one of the things that had been on the list for at least 12 months is a stock pot. This is about, it had a lid with a broken handle, but the lid doesn't matter. It's the size of the stock pot and the very heavy base. You can just get a very quick glimpse of my phone and the stuff on my shelf. This would be about 20-25 litres. I have a much smaller one that I think is 15 litres, which I do for small batches, and I have been wanting a big one for ages. So I'm really happy about this. It was $27, which is pretty good. I think a brand new one you're looking at about 50 to 100, but I was never going to buy a brand new one. I don't buy brand new anything if I can help it. And the other thing is something that I have been thinking about a lot. It's a bunch of books. They are not fibre art books, but I feel like this does relate to fibre art. I will make the connection more obvious over the next few videos, but I have been reading or recently read a really fantastic book called Stolen Focus by Johann, and it's all about the breakdown of, a society-wide breakdown of people's ability to concentrate and experience moments of flow or deep focus, and our chapter is devoted to children and how children are being affected. And before I'd even finished that book, one of the things I started doing was reading novels to my children who are still quite young, but when you start to look, you realise there's so much literature out there, long form story, light novels that are written for very young children. And so that is something that's become part of our family practice, is getting my kids to engage with a story over weeks and sometimes months. And so I'm always on the lookout for really interesting novels that I can read, accessible novels as well for their age that I can read to them. And I found some really lovely ones, and the first one is The Secret Garden, and I also found the DVD, which I grew up with. I love this movie, so I was so pleased to find it on a DVD. We don't stream movies at all. We don't pay for any of that sort of stuff. We just have DVDs and books. So that was The Secret Garden. And then I found some very vintage ones that I had never heard of. This is an Australian one, which is called The Foxhole. I'm going to have to read this one before I read it to my kid, just to make sure that I don't accidentally traumatise them. But the description on the back was interesting. It sounds like it's set in the Victorian goldfields, which I was there only a month ago. And this other one is called Earth Fast, which is about a drummer boy who disappears and then reappears 200 years later. I just find that such a potent idea. And again, I will read that one before I start reading it to my kids. So that's by William Mayne, and this one, The Foxhole, was by Ivan Southall. And then I've never heard of Little Toot, but I'm pretty sure that will be very much enjoyed by my children, just having a quick look at what the nature of that story is. Enid Blyton, the Faraway Tree series, we've been reading The Enchanted Wood, and my kids love it. They love Mr. What's His Name and The Saucepan Man and Moonface. All those characters really crack them up. And this one I'd never heard of before is The Adventures of the Muddle-Headed Wombat. I think it's sort of in the tradition of Blinky Bill, which is another Australian classic. But it's by Ruth Parkes, who I have heard of, and she is a New Zealand-born Australian writer, and she wrote a book called Playing Beady Bow, which was something I read when I was much younger, and it was a very atmospheric novel that I really enjoyed, and this is aimed at much younger children, but I'm really pleased with that little haul of vintage books for children. Just and now an update on fibre art stuff. I've been a bit crook the last week, so I feel like it's been a really slow 7-8 days. But looking at all the stuff I put together, maybe it hadn't been that slow. Starting with the spinning. So I have all of this dyed up last week, which I showed you, and I have been flip carding the locks with a dog brush and then just spinning straight from the locks into singles, and this is my first finished bobbin. I've started my second, it's just on a spinning wheel at the moment. So I'm getting some beautiful tonal variation. It's coming up kind of like a denim blue, and I think I would like to dye some more of this colour but go much darker for a jumper. I have always wanted to do a blue and white horizontally striped pullover for myself. And now that I have found the shade of blue that I really love, that I can actually make myself with my dyes, I think that might be coming up pretty soon. So that's going well. After I've done the blue, I will do my contrast colour, which will be like hopefully a silvery white with a bit of brown to just give the colour combination a bit more of a natural feel. And then I'll start, this is for a beanie and a colourwork beanie and colourwork fingerless gloves or mittens. But I have been getting a lot of knitting done. I'm still working on a pullover, which is the Sarah Kelly, who also goes by the name Grey Owl Knits. This is her Choose Your Own Adventure, but the children's version. And I have done the next panel down. So this is the yoke and this is the next section. I decided to mix it up a little bit. I was looking at some of the projects on Ravelry and noticed that some other knitters had actually pulled several different motifs and put them into the one panel, which I thought was a great idea because it just means I can incorporate more imagery. So I've got the sunny hammock and then extra trees. So that's finished and I'm now back into the blue, and the next section will be canoes. I'm just really enjoying this knit, and what else can I say about it? It's in my handspun. I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much. It's so satisfying to see how beautifully my handspun is knitting up. It's a really rewarding thing to experience. So that is the knitting. I'm a little worried that I'm going to run out of the contrast colour, which is just a natural colour. It was a coloured Shropshire fleece with mystery brown fluff and some brown polar. I talked more about it in the last video. So this is what I have left. Hang on a minute. This is what I have left. Looking at that, it looks like it will be enough, but if I don't, I did find I had completely forgotten that there was this little bit of roving left over from that spin, which might be enough to just keep me out of strife. I'm just trying to remember why I didn't spin this up, and I think I must have filled 4 bobbins and then only had this left and didn't think it was worth putting that in the spin as well. And so I had put it in my barnyard batch bag, which is something I'll explain another time, but I've taken that out just in case I need to spin that up for some extra. I don't know, looking at that now, it looks like it might be enough. But if it's not, if I just do not have enough of the contrast colour, I'm thinking what I will do is when I get to the sleeves, I will just, I'll do corresponding bands of colour so that they match up with what I've done in the body, but I will just use this colour to do a flea stitch every third round, which is something I love doing anyway, and I think it would look okay. Who knows? I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So that's the knitting for that one, and the final thing for now, while I'm still spinning the main colour for the colourwork beanie and mitten, which is the indigo blue, I wanted to get on and Drumcard the contrast colours so that it's ready to go. It's a blend of white, a slate grey that I dyed to come out reasonably pale, and some soft brown that is a natural coloured merino. I'm obviously talking about this having finished Drumcarding the first batch, and I don't know if this blend has turned out how I saw it in my mind. Although you can never judge a bat, it's how a bat looks compared to how it spins up can be so different, and so I'll just reserve judgment on whether it's worked or not until I've spun it up. I'm just painting the brown merino on because I didn't want it too blended with the rest of the fibre. I knew in my mind, when I picture this contrast colour, I can see really clear streaks of pale brown. And I think the reason that the combination of the whole is not coming out how I pictured it in my mind is that the slate grey was quite grey. It looked grey after I had finished dyeing it and I washed it and laid it out to dry, but after I drum carded it, just that colour by itself, it was reading like a pale blue, like a pale icy blue. And of course slate, when I think about it now, yeah, slate is associated as a blue-grey colour, but I've seen plenty of instances where something's been described as slate and it wasn't blue at all, so I guess that's why I might have just led myself astray a little bit. And so maybe I should have gone with a pale charcoal, like the dye that I have that is charcoal. But this is all just learning. And again, it might exceed my expectations and go quite beautifully with the main colour. It'll just be something different. It's been a challenge trying to get this video finished and published, more so than the other videos have been so far. And it's a challenge that I'm sure creative women the world over can empathise with when you're a mother as well. And you're always trying to find a balance between your parenting and your deep innate need for creative time. And I'm talking about like the slow, not always productive kind of creative time when it's so limited and you want to achieve something each time, but it takes the play and the exploration away when you're under pressure and you know that you only have a limited time to do something for yourself, and it can feel indulgent and selfish. I'm just rolling up the bat now, and I can tell you, because it's after the fact, that the colour blows out. It is actually a little prettier than how it's turning up on the camera, but I will hopefully get some better footage of it for the next video.